What if the world's most confident woman wasn't always sure of herself? Emma Watson, an icon of empowerment, has openly admitted to struggling with insecurities and self-doubt, something most of us can relate to. But what's truly inspiring about Emma's journey is how she transformed those doubts into strength. In this video, we'll uncover how Emma learned to embrace her flaws, reject unrealistic beauty standards, and find true confidence. Stick around, because her story may just change the way you see yourself too. The struggle with insecurity. Insecurities and self-doubt are struggles that almost everyone faces, regardless of age, background, or success. For Emma Watson, these feelings were part of her reality as a young adult. Despite being an icon of female empowerment and a highly successful actress, she was, at the core, still, just like many of us, riddled with self-criticism. At 21, Emma admitted that she was riddled with insecurity and self-critiquing, especially as she navigated the pressures of growing up in the spotlight. Imagine being thrust into the limelight at such a young age, constantly judged by the public eye. Emma Watson, who became famous for playing Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter series, found herself under an intense microscope. Every photo, every red carpet appearance, every interview was scrutinized, and she couldn't escape the feeling of not measuring up. In her candid interview with Esquire UK, she revealed how she struggled to even recognize herself in the glamorous photo shoots, questioning whether the image staring back at her was really who she was. Being in the public eye can intensify these feelings, especially when media outlets and social platforms uphold such unrealistic beauty standards. Emma, just like so many others, was exposed to an environment that constantly tells women what they should look like: slim, flawless, and perfect. But for Emma, these standards were not just images on a screen. They felt like expectations she had to live up to in her own life, which led to even more self-doubt. Have you ever looked at yourself through the lens of societal expectations only to feel like you don't measure up? That's the space Emma found herself in too. Despite her fame, despite being an advocate for gender equality, Emma was still fighting battles many of us face daily, reconciling with our own image and dealing with self-doubt. But it was in recognizing that the problem wasn't her, but the system around her, that Emma began to see a way out of this suffocating cycle of insecurity. The turning point, realizing the problem isn't you. The turning point in Emma Watson's journey came when she realized that the issue wasn't her, but the unrealistic beauty standards set by society. "I operate in a system that's I'm not the system's she said. And this moment of clarity shifted everything. For years, Emma had internalized the constant media scrutiny, feeling like she wasn't enough. But this epiphany helped her separate herself from the expectations the world had imposed on her. She recognized that her struggle wasn't about her own inadequacy. It was about being caught in a system that creates pressure and unrealistic standards for everyone, especially women. Imagine how liberating it must have felt for Emma to finally realize that she didn't have to conform to the image the world expected of her. Rather than seeing herself as flawed, she began to see the system as the problem. One that imposed standards of beauty, success, and even behavior that were impossible to meet. This was her awakening moment. She no longer believed that her feelings of insecurity were a reflection of who she was. Instead, she saw them as a byproduct of the system that constantly told her she wasn't enough. This realization led to a shift in how Emma approached her career and her personal life. She stopped internalizing the pressures of needing to fit into a mold, and instead she began to focus on being true to herself. She became less concerned with fitting the idealized image of perfection and more interested in embracing her authentic self. It wasn't easy. Letting go of society's expectations is a constant battle, but Emma's insight was the catalyst for her journey towards self-acceptance. Through this process, Emma was able to reclaim her power. Instead of shrinking under the weight of external judgment, she stood taller, more confident in her individuality. The moment she realized that the problem wasn't her, but the world around her, was the first step toward her own healing. And it serves as a reminder for all of us. True self-acceptance starts when we stop internalizing the pressures of a system that doesn't define our worth. Embracing imperfections, the power of self-acceptance. With her realization that the system, not her, was the problem, Emma Watson began her journey toward self-acceptance. This wasn't an overnight transformation, but rather a gradual process of embracing her imperfections and rejecting the need to conform to society's standards of beauty and success. She came to understand that true confidence doesn't come from striving for perfection. It comes from fully accepting who you are, flaws and all. Emma stopped running from her insecurities and instead started to embrace them. One of the key shifts in Emma's mindset was learning to view her imperfections as part of what made her unique and beautiful. She stopped seeing them as barriers and started seeing them as what made her her. The self-criticism she had once allowed to define her began to lose its grip on her. She realized that the journey to self-acceptance wasn't about eliminating insecurities, but about learning to live alongside them while still valuing herself. This concept of self-acceptance is a vital lesson for anyone struggling with body image or self-doubt. It's not about achieving perfection, it's about embracing your authentic self despite flaws. As Emma continued to grow, she became more open about her struggles, using her platform to speak out about the pressures women face regarding their appearance. She wasn't just hiding behind her public persona, she was allowing herself to be vulnerable. Emma shared her struggles with self-image, letting others see that even someone who seemingly had it all still faced challenges in accepting themselves. By sharing her journey, she gave others permission to feel their own insecurities without judgment, proving that imperfection is what makes us human. Through embracing her imperfections, Emma found freedom. She no longer measured herself by an idealized standard. She learned to love herself as she was, imperfect but worthy. This transformation wasn't just personal, it became a part of her public persona. As Emma accepted her true self, her confidence radiated, and this newfound self-love inspired others to do the same. The lesson is clear. Self-acceptance isn't about becoming flawless. It's about recognizing that you are enough just as you are. The journey to embracing who we truly are can be daunting, but Emma's story shows us that it's the most freeing, empowering path we can take. True confidence comes from within, not from fitting into a mold created by society. Embrace your imperfections because they are what make you uniquely beautiful. The power of vulnerability, building confidence from within. One of the most powerful lessons Emma Watson teaches us is that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a source of strength. As she grew in her confidence, she began to embrace the power of being vulnerable, something that's often seen as a vulnerability in itself. For Emma, embracing vulnerability meant allowing herself to be imperfect, to share her struggles with the world, and to show up as her true, unpolished self. Far from making her seem weak, this vulnerability only amplified her strength, making her a more relatable, authentic, and powerful figure. Emma realized that hiding behind a facade of perfection didn't protect her from criticism. Instead, it only made her feel more isolated. The more she allowed herself to be seen in her rawest form, the more she shared her insecurities, the more she was able to build true confidence. This wasn't about being perfect or flawless. It was about being comfortable with the imperfect parts of herself and being open with the world about them. She stopped pretending to be someone she wasn't and began embracing all aspects of herself, her quirks, her fears, and her vulnerabilities. This public willingness to be vulnerable resonated deeply with her fans. In interviews and speeches, Emma shared her doubts and struggles with body image, self-worth, and public expectations. She became a beacon for others who struggled with similar issues. She encouraged women to speak up about their own insecurities and to stop hiding behind a mask of supposed perfection. Emma showed the world that you don't need to be flawless to be confident. You just need to accept yourself as you are. This acceptance and vulnerability helped Emma become a stronger, more confident version of herself. By acknowledging her own weaknesses, she found empowerment. She also recognized that confidence comes from within, not from external validation. True confidence isn't about meeting others' standards, but about living authentically and unapologetically. Emma's growth was not just in learning to accept herself, but in teaching others that they could do the same. Vulnerability was the key that unlocked her inner strength. Rather than hiding her flaws, Emma used them as a platform to connect with others and empower them. Her openness has made her not only a role model, but also a leader in encouraging others to accept their vulnerabilities. The lesson here is simple but powerful. True confidence is built on the foundation of vulnerability, self-acceptance, and authenticity. Emma's journey shows us that embracing our imperfections and sharing our vulnerabilities can turn us into the most confident and resilient versions of ourselves. Inspiring confidence, the Emma Watson blueprint for self-love. Emma Watson's journey to self-acceptance is not just a personal story, it's a blueprint for confidence, resilience, and self-love that resonates with people around the world. She has become a symbol of empowerment, not just because of her acting career, her advocacy for women's rights, or her role as a UN Women Goodwill Ambassador, but because she embodies the very essence of what it means to embrace yourself fully, flaws and all. Emma's transformation from struggling with insecurities to becoming a confident, self-accepting woman is a story that anyone can draw inspiration from. One of the most profound aspects of Emma's journey is her ability to acknowledge her flaws and weaknesses while continuing to excel in her personal and professional life. She didn't let societal pressures or beauty standards dictate her worth. Instead, she used them as stepping stones for growth. Her ability to publicly discuss her insecurities with such vulnerability made her an even more powerful role model. It showed that confidence isn't about having it all figured out, but rather about being okay with not having everything perfect and learning to love yourself despite it. Emma's commitment to challenging the pressures of beauty standards goes beyond her personal growth. It is reflected in her activism. She's consistently used her platform to challenge society's expectations for women, encouraging others to question the unrealistic portrayals of beauty and success. Emma's work with the He for She campaign is an example of how she not only inspires women to embrace their true selves, but also calls on men to join in the fight for equality. Her authenticity and confidence have made her a voice of reason in a world often obsessed with outward appearances. What makes Emma Watson's story even more inspiring is her ability to inspire others to do the same. She shows us that self-love isn't about reaching some idealized version of yourself. It's about accepting who you are in the present, knowing that your worth doesn't depend on conforming to anyone's expectations but your own. By embracing her imperfections, Emma encourages us all to do the same. She's taught us that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. True confidence is not about perfection, but about embracing who you are and daring to show up as yourself unapologetically. So what can we learn from Emma Watson's blueprint for self-love? It starts with acknowledging the pressures around us, understanding that they don't define us, and choosing to love and accept ourselves despite our flaws. It's about looking beyond external expectations and valuing our inner qualities. Emma's story is a powerful reminder that confidence begins with self-acceptance, and that no matter how high the bar is set by society, we are already enough just as we are. Emma Watson's journey teaches us that self-acceptance isn't about perfection. It's about embracing our flaws and recognizing our worth regardless of societal standards. Her transformation from self-doubt to self-love is a powerful reminder that true confidence comes from within, and vulnerability can be a source of strength. If you've ever struggled with insecurity, take a page from Emma's story. Learn to love and accept yourself as you are. If you found inspiration in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Rise and Inspire. Your journey to self-love starts now.